Hey everyone, so in this video I'm just showing a few of the Onslaught teams that I used in this current Onslaught. I had a lot of fun with them, to be honest. I used a variety of different teams, including using a passive attack team. You can see right here I'm using Negan and Ajax actually on a team, and even using League's 6-star Sandy. Now, the reason I'm using 6-star Sandy in this team is because she has an active skill that can revive a teammate and she can taunt an enemy into her. The main point is she's able to control with her active skill and she can revive a toon. The key to running a passive attack team involves letting the opponent do all the heavy lifting and all the hard work. I find a passive attack team works best against fast rushing defense teams. So a great example of that is any team that has an Arav on the defensive end. Another toon that is easy to trigger is S-Class Mercer or even 6-star Mercer, just because Mercer hits 3 toons with his rush. Now, an odd choice of toon that I do use on this attack team is 6-star Ajax. Now, a lot of people would end up using someone like Magna or Frost or a yellow human shield with absolute defense. And the reason you want to use a human shield in line with a payback toon is so that you force line rushes like from Marav or from Princess to hit your payback toon every single time. But a lot of people would probably opt to not use Ajax. But what I like about Ajax is that he comes with a reflect weapon, meaning every time he's attacked with a basic attack, he has about a 35% chance to reflect 150% of a damage, and with all the hard-hitting blues out there, it means he's reflecting back a lot of damage back at the enemy when it does go off. And I don't want to end up impairing or stunning the enemy, because if I end up stunning the enemy and say it's a Rav who needs to attack and then he's command rushed, well, all of a sudden I'm unable to force a Rav to rush my line that has my payback Negan. I like running a Priya lead, that way she can kind of mop up after. She gets the 50% attack boost from being her own lead, meaning she's going to be doing more damage to the enemy. I also like using Princess because of her active skill. Her active skill just enables me to exhibit some control on the enemy by being able to taunt them as well as normalize them. This gives me an advantage in case there's only 2 characters left or 3 characters left, because whenever my payback Negan gets rushed, there's a high chance that he ends up destroying 3 toons on the enemy's team with payback. But it also means that Ajax is dead and Negan is dead. So it's a 3-on-2, but I still might need to control the enemy. It's a pretty basic attack team to use, but I found it to be very effective. And I hope you guys can draw a little bit of inspiration from a team like this, because you score the most points when you don't rush the enemy. So it's very important to understand what active skills every toon has so that you can leverage them against the enemy. I think having an active revive ability is extremely important and definitely valuable. You don't always need it, but you do score a few extra points if you have more toons alive at the very end. The most amount of points that you're going to score in Onslaught comes from being able to attack the enemy without using any adrenaline rushes. Now, I know a few people use bleed teams and with pain spread. Some other people use infection with 100% heal reduction, which would be the combination of either the Traitor and Wangfa or Mateo and Wangfa, just as an example. Like, there's a lot of different methods that people can use, and I think it's important to understand if you see a specific lead coming from the enemy, what toons do you suspect will be behind them. This will help you make a decision on what toons you want to use when attacking the enemy. So right now I'm just using a passive team, but there are a couple other attack teams that I did utilize during Onslaught. I will get to those teams a little bit later in the video. I'm still going to focus on analyzing the enemy's toons. So in this case, we see Princess, Priya, Jesus, as well as Pete behind a Mercer lead. We know we want to get Princess to rush, and she is going to rush down that line. We want to defend with Ajax to force Princess to rush that line, but we want to attack with Negan. By defending with Negan, which is what a lot of people end up doing, they boost his defense, which means he takes less damage. and the less damage that he takes, the less damage he pays back to the enemy. Which is why with payback tunes you conventionally want more HP and less defense, but you still need somewhat of a balance, otherwise people will be able to take out your payback tune using basic attacks. You can also add a reflect damage mod on payback tunes because you know a lot of people will either have to normalize the payback tune or use those basic attacks to whittle down their HP. Now this of course completely ignores anyone who tries to infect, bleed, burn, or maim your team, which is kind of an indirect and also flat source of damage that is very difficult to control and manipulate. In truth, my opinion of Onslaught is that it's a very interesting area of a game and it can be a lot of fun, especially figuring out teams of no rushes that can actually beat some of the tankiest, fastest, strongest, worst, or best teams in the game. Like the thinking style in Onslaught is so much different than every other area of a game except for maybe Hordes, which is completely out in left field. But in Onslaught, not using rushes and having to use just active skills and basic attacks make the game a lot more interesting, except when you have the infection and 100% heal reduction combination, at least in my opinion, because it just seems like that is on easy mode, while Onslaught I kind of like that it's on more of a medium to hard mode. I especially like using obscure tunes that people have forgotten about, hence the Red Sandy that I'm using from one of the earlier seasons in the game. I still think that she's pretty effective and she's helped me win quite a few matches. Now this next team that I use, it's a very offensive team but also a misdirection team with control. So I'm using a 6-star Frost on this team just kind of as some reassurance to make sure my other tunes are protected a little bit. I'm using Priya as my main damage dealer as well as Princess, also because of Princess's normalizability. I am utilizing Raven, and Raven I think is very valuable to this team because of her turn 1 active elusive ability. And because I have a human shield up, it means the enemy cannot gain any AP off of my human shield, because Raven is able to provide elusive to all other teammates on her team, which makes her to be a very effective character. The other team that I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of, but I've made a minor adjustment to by adding Princess to this team. This team is a very offensive team and I use a lot of stun weapons on it to be more effective. I've also brought Princess into this team. Again, her active skill is second to none, and because she taunts enemies into her and has Berserker as well as a special weapon that gives her a bonus attack buff when it's triggered, she becomes a very easy tune to run and apply a lot of damage. Marlon and Rosie is on the team to provide a lot of damage, so is Steve. He also has an active infection recovery, which could be valuable if I end up finding an infection tune behind enemy lines. I'm using Green Abraham just because he provides attack as well as crit chance to my team, meaning their basic attacks will hit harder, and any basic attacks that are a critical hit will also do more damage, hence why I'm using a critical leader. I've also given Marlon and Rosie attack and crit on their weapon, so on Rosie, and I just find this to be more effective because I didn't really want to level up Marlon and Rosie's rush anyway. I just don't find it to be that effective. So now you guys have seen just a few of the teams that I've been running in Onslaught. They're not really any fancy teams, a lot of them are pretty basic, but the whole idea is how can I leverage my tune's active skills to beat an enemy, but I don't always know what the enemy's team is composed of. In a lot of cases, you can make good educated guesses, especially when you see tunes like Mercer as a lead. You're expecting Princess behind, maybe Priya, maybe even a Rav, a Dr. Stevens. There's just so many ways that you can anticipate what the enemy has, and once you're starting to anticipate the enemy, it means you can start creating a strategy to fight the enemy. Another idea is waiting a little bit in Onslaught, seeing how other people try to attack certain teams, and whenever they decide to flee or if they fail, you can see what the enemy is running, which can be super valuable when deciding what team you're going to use to attack and hopefully successfully kill the enemy. Feel free to let me know in the comment section below what you guys have found to be effective in Onslaught. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and that it's helped you kind of create some new ideas for the next Onslaught event that we'll have in the future. And thanks again everyone for watching and listening to my video.